Sometimes the loudest moments in life aren't the ones filled with sound. They're the moments when you can't quite hear yourself anymore. You wake up, scroll, reply, perform, and somewhere between the notifications and the noise, you lose that quiet little voice that used to guide you. It's not that you don't care, you've just gotten used to the world's volume. And now, when silence finally shows up, it almost feels unbearable. But maybe that feeling isn't punishment. Maybe it's an invitation and a quiet call from somewhere inside whispering, "Stay. Don't rush away this time." If you're listening to this right now, take a breath. Grab a piece of paper or open a note and write something down. Not for anyone else, just for you. Write these words: "I'm learning to hear my own silence." Because that sentence marks the moment you stop running from quiet and start remembering who you are beneath it. There was once an old farmer who lived beside a quiet lake. Every morning before sunrise, he'd walk to the water's edge, sit on a worn wooden bench, and listen. He said he wasn't waiting for anything, just listening. And when people asked what he heard, he smiled and said, "Everything that truly matters speaks only in silence." Years later, when that farmer passed away, his grandson found a note tucked inside his old Bible. It read, "Don't be afraid of silence. It's the only place the heart can speak clearly." And that, my friend, is where our story begins. The world of noise. We live in a world that's forgotten the sound of quiet, the hum of machines, the endless scroll of screens, the chatter of opinions. They follow us everywhere we go. And the louder life gets, the further we drift from the sound of our own hearts. Dale Carnegie once said that to truly live, we need to exist in what he called day-tight compartments. To close the door on yesterday, to stop worrying about tomorrow, and to live fully right here in the stillness of today. But how do we live in stillness when silence itself makes so many of us uncomfortable? We fill every pause with music, every quiet moment with motion, every corner of our minds with noise. We fear silence because in silence we meet ourselves. And sometimes that's the hardest meeting of all, the gentle power of stillness. When I was younger, I thought strength meant action, speaking louder, moving faster, doing more. But the years have a way of teaching lessons that noise never could. I remember a night, long ago, a close friend had lost his job, his confidence, and almost his will to keep going. He called me, desperate for advice. I sat with him for hours. But I didn't say much. I just listened, quietly, fully. When he finally stood up to leave, he said, "Thank you. You said exactly what I needed to hear." And I smiled because the truth is, I hadn't said a word. That evening taught me something I never forgot. Sometimes, silence is the most powerful form of presence. It heals, it comforts, it gives others and ourselves the space to breathe. Why we run from silence? Many of us fear quiet moments because silence holds up a mirror. And in that mirror, we see everything we've tried to avoid: our restlessness, our doubts, our truth. Dale Carnegie once said, "Remember, happiness doesn't depend on who you are or what you have. It depends solely on what you think." But to know what you think, you first have to stop long enough to listen. The real challenge isn't the noise around us, it's the noise inside us. That running commentary that never takes a break, the mind that plans, worries, replays, regrets, the voice that whispers, "You should be doing more. You should be further along. You should be someone else." And so we stay busy, not because we love the race, but because we're afraid of what might catch up to us if we ever stopped running. But here's the truth. The mind can't hear the heart if it never stops speaking. The wisdom of listening, Carnegie often said, be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. It's one of his timeless principles. But what if we turned that same kindness inward? What if we became better listeners of our own souls? When you sit in silence, you're not doing nothing. You're doing the most important something of all. You're coming home to yourself. Inside each of us is a voice that doesn't shout. It whispers. It knows what you need. It reminds you what truly matters. It tells you when to move, when to rest, and when to let go. That voice won't fight to be heard. It waits patiently beneath the noise. And if you give it time, it will guide you with more wisdom than any book, any speech, or any crowd. Moments of quiet truth. Think back to a time when life gave you no clear answer, a crossroad, a loss, a decision that weighed on your heart. Maybe you talked to friends, asked for advice, prayed, or worried yourself tired. But when the answer finally came, it probably came in silence. Maybe it was during a walk at dusk, maybe in that calm just before sleep, or in the soft light of early morning, and somewhere deep down, you realized, I already knew. That's the quiet magic of silence. It doesn't hand us new truths. It helps us remember the ones we already carry. 3 steps toward the power of silence. Let's make this practical. Because wisdom, as Dale Carnegie often said, means little unless it's lived. So here are 3 simple steps to help you reconnect with silence, and through it, with yourself. Step 1. Create your quiet corner. Find one small moment in each day to be completely still. No music, no phone, no multitasking, just you and your breath. Sit by a window, or under a tree, or on the edge of your bed before dawn. At first, your mind will resist. It'll list every task, every worry, every should. But stay there. Breathe. Let the thoughts drift by like clouds across the sky. 5 minutes of true quiet can do more for your mind than an hour of scrolling through noise. Remember, silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of awareness. Step 2. Listen to others deeply. When you give someone your full attention, no interruptions, no waiting for your turn to speak, you give them something rarer than gold. As Carnegie wrote, a person's name is to that person the sweetest sound in any language. And I'd add, so is the sound of being truly heard. The more we practice listening to others, the stronger we build the muscles of empathy and patience. And those same muscles help us listen to our own hearts with greater clarity. Step 3. Transform worry into reflection. In How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Carnegie shared this simple truth. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can possibly happen? Prepare to accept it, then try to improve upon it. That's wisdom you can only use when you've slowed down enough to think clearly, when you step out of the noise of panic and into the quiet of perspective. Instead of running from silence, invite it. Use it as a workshop for your thoughts. Write down what's troubling you. Let your hand move slower than your mind. Soon, the chaos inside you will start to take shape and lose its power. The strength beneath stillness. In the quiet, you'll discover something extraordinary. Silence isn't weakness. It's strength. It's the space where courage is born. Think of the ocean. From the shore, you see waves, crashing, roaring, endless motion. But deep beneath, there's calm, steady, eternal. That's what silence gives us. depth. It's where we anchor ourselves so the storms of life don't carry us away. Carnegie believed that our greatest power lies in directing our own thoughts, in guiding our minds where we wish them to go. Silence is the training ground for that power. It teaches you to pause before reacting, to choose peace over panic, understanding over anger. A story of rediscovery. Some years ago, I met a man who had built a company from nothing. He was admired, respected, always busy, a picture of success. Then one day, his doctor told him he had to stop. His heart simply couldn't keep up with his pace. He tried to rest, but the quiet terrified him. He said it felt like standing on the edge of an empty canyon, every echo reminding him of everything he had ignored, his family, his health, his dreams. But slowly, he began to walk each morning without his phone. He watched the sunrise, listened to the birds, and breathed. Weeks passed, then months. And one day, he said to me, "For the first time in years, I can hear my own voice again. And it's kind. That is the healing power of silence. It brings us back to kindness toward ourselves and toward others." The heart's gentle reminder. If you spend enough time in quiet, you'll notice something beautiful. Life doesn't have to shout to be meaningful. The laughter of a child, the whisper of wind through the trees, the steady rhythm of your own breath, they're all part of a quiet conversation between you and the world. When you stop talking long enough to listen, you realize life has been speaking all along. Returning to the bench. So now, imagine that old farmer again, sitting by the lake at dawn, watching the mist rise. He isn't checking a schedule. He isn't planning his day. He's just there, fully alive in that single, silent moment. He hears the world waking, but more importantly, he hears himself, the quiet heartbeat of a soul at peace. Maybe that's what Dale Carnegie truly meant when he said that success isn't measured by applause or possessions, but by the serenity of one's own mind. He understood real influence begins not with the voice, but with the stillness behind it. A gentle call to action. So here's my challenge to you, a quiet one. Before you rush into tomorrow, find one moment today to pause, sit somewhere still, close your eyes, breathe, listen, not for answers, but for presence. Let the noise fade until all that's left is you, whole, calm, aware, because the truth is, you've been carrying peace inside you all along. You just needed to remember where to find it. Closing words. Silence isn't an escape. It's a return, a homecoming to the part of you that never shouts, never demands, never fears. In stillness, you rediscover your courage, your compassion, your strength, and you'll hear that quiet voice that's been waiting all this time. The one that says, you're enough, you're safe, you can rest. And when the world grows loud again, as it always will, you'll know where to go. Back to the quiet, back to the truth. Because the quietest voice in your heart has always known the way.